38?
I'm not a 38er, but you'll be amazed how much we've got in common.
You're certainly a historian, so.
I have two great-grandfathers from Clarke County that were in the war, but neither one of them were in the 38th. One, Neil McLeod Calhoun, was in Company E of the 24th Alabama, Dickinson Guards from right here in Grove Hill. The other one was John A. Bolin, Company E, 32nd Alabama from Jackson. But it's amazing how much commonality we have because the 32nd was in Clayton's brigade. So all of the 38th experiences were common to both of my great-grandfathers in those other two regiments. The lady that gave us the program this morning with the letters, I just wanted to let her know, I hadn't told her this, but we have a collection of letters over at the museum from one of our local boys here, Lieutenant Stephen Pugh Chapman, letters of about 100 letters that he wrote. And I have transcribed them just the way you did yours and have not completed all of the footnotes and notations and stuff, but I'm doing a very similar project to what you're doing, but not to quite such detail. And I had a question for you this morning, but I didn't ask it. What do you do in your spare time? But at any rate, and also the gentleman that just told us about the trunk, I thought he was telling my story. My great-grandfather Bolin had an old trunk. I had seen some of the contents of it over the years, and several years ago I was given some of the contents out of it. And then just within the last 2 years, I acquired some more contents that were in the trunk that I had not previously known about, that were memorabilia that he had saved over the years. And I just wanted to share a couple of those with you. I have the trunk and also the contents too, which could have gotten away. And my grandfather Calhoun, that was in the 24th Alabama, was wounded at Atlanta and spent the rest of the war in the disabled camp over in Lauderdale, Mississippi. My grandfather Bolin was in the 32nd. He was captured at Missionary Ridge and sent to Rock Island Prison, which we've been talking about quite a bit here today. Let's see if I can get this all sorted out. In the trunk, there was an envelope that contained, when I opened it up, get it all out here in just a minute. I think I can get it all out here. In the trunk there was an envelope that when I opened it up contained a number of UCV reunion badges, and they're fairly fragile, so I didn't bring those with me today, but I do have quick pictures of them here. And included there was Alabama Division UCV Tuscaloosa 1926, delegate to the UCV General Convention in Mobile 1924, delegate to the 31st Reunion in Chattanooga 1921, Alabama State Reunion, Mobile 1908, Mobile Reunion 1910, and a couple others that are not dated. But these were all within his trunk.
Do you have those now?
I have the medals. I just didn't bring them because the ribbons are real fragile. Also, I have his parole that he signed after he came home from prison. He walked home from Rock Island, was released on June 19th, 1865, came here to Grove Hill on August the 29th, 1865, and signed his parole. This is his actual parole papers. And it was countersigned by Can't hardly read it. Some lieutenant from Company D, something Missouri Volunteers. At any rate, that's his.
That would have been very valuable to him, Walter, because that would have been his free pass,
Yes.
to pass the good faith and get through the lines.
I don't know if you've ever read one of these paroles before or not, but here's what they say. It says, United States of America, I, John A. Boland of the Company of the County of Clarke, State of Alabama, do solemnly swear or affirm in presence of Almighty God that I will henceforth faithfully support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Union of the States thereunder, and that I will in like manner abide by and faithfully support all laws and proclamations which have been made during the existing rebellion with reference to the emancipation of slaves, so help me God. Subscribed and sworn to.
You know, sometimes that was called kissing the eagle.
Yeah. I have a picture of him on his 90th birthday, standing straight as a ramrod, all of his life, never had a bow in his back at all. And he had a white flowing beard, somewhat like ours. My grandmother said he chewed tobacco all the time, but she never saw a stain on his beard. Art mentioned a book a while ago, Rebels at Rock Island. Very good book if you get somebody that was at Rock Island. It'll make you angry if you read it because of the conditions there. Online, I came across, just Googled Rock Island Prison, and I came across this thing from the, I guess it's their archives up there. And it's got a lot of actual photographs that were taken at the time that the prisoners were there. And I've had this for several years. And looking through here, it had one page that said, bird trinket carved out of a mussel shell by a prisoner. And then it's got some other little trinkets that were carved out of mussel shells. So I knew what those things were. And in the book that Art referenced there, Rebels at Rock Island, there was a picture in that book, and the caption says, prisoners making and displaying trinkets for sale or barter. And so what they were doing, they were taking mussel shells out of the Mississippi River, carving little trinkets out of it and selling them so that they could buy stuff from the sutler. You know, they had nothing there, and they were on short rations, as you said. And so they would get together and make these little trinkets to sell. Local people would come off Des Moines, Iowa, and Rock Island, Illinois, and purchase these things. Well, that only went on for about 2 months during the summer of 1864, and the camp commander put a stop to it. So they couldn't do that anymore. So there couldn't be too many of these artifacts out there anywhere because they were manufactured in such a short period of time. Well, lo and behold, the last artifacts that came out of that trunk within the last 2 years, I nearly fell over when I saw this. Get this little baggie open. In this little box, there was, I don't know what this was supposed to have been, but it's a mussel shell that's been carved into almost like a belt buckle, and it has nothing else on it. It's just a plain mussel shell, which didn't really amount to very much. But I'll get my picture up here where you can see it. It seemed like that one of the trinkets that was the most popular was in the form of a bird. They also had leaves and some rings and some fish and various items that were carved out of there. But in this little box, there's a little bird carved out of a mussel shell. And also, this is really tiny, an acorn carved out of a mussel shell. And a ring that has some sort of a metallic inlay that was handmade also. I didn't know this until after I got home and looked on the bottom of the box, but it says, made by John A. Boland Sr. while in prison at Rock Island during the Civil War. Oh, wow. idea what the significance of it was, but there's also a mini ball in that box. No connection, no idea exactly what the significance of it was, but it must have meant something to him because he saved it. Probably the most unusual item that was in that trunk was a pair of, I guess you call them booties. These were issued at the Rock Island Prison Hospital, I guess to keep the prisoners' feet warm or whatever. I've never seen anything like this before, but I read a description of it in a book recently, and I'm trying to find the book. I can't remember where I read it, but it described these to a T. They're made out of wool, they had laces in them, and they've obviously been well worn. At one time, they were the light federal blue. So that came out of there. The other items that not all of them came out of that trunk, some of them did. I have 8 different pictures of Confederate reunions here in Clarke County. Most of them were held out at Old Union Campground where veterans met for years and years. Unfortunately, most of the people in the pictures are not identified. My great-grandfather appears in most of them, and I can identify him and several others, but most of these people will be lost. This one was the only one that had a caption on it, and it said, Camp Calhoun Confederate Veterans Annual Reunion, July 28, 1904, Union Campground, Clarke County, Alabama. So that was a UCV camp here in Jacksonville, Grove Hill, or in this area. The other pictures are, this was in 1904, so there's not a lot of people in that picture. This picture's from about 1890, and there's quite a few more people in it, so you can see that they're passing on. This one shows a picture at the campground, and it shows the people eating dinner on the ground type thing there. And another view that's very similar. And this particular picture, when I found it, I thought it was just another copy of this picture. They were made basically in the same place, but after I got to studying them, my great-grandfather appears in 2 different locations. So I know that they were done at different times, and then I picked up on some other people in there that were different from one picture to the other, but they're very similar. And then there was another one that has even fewer people in it, and the notation on it says, made by J.F. Gaddy, August 10th, 1911, another UCV picture. And then there was one that I didn't have a copy of, but it appeared in the Clarke County Democrat at one time. It's made at the same location, but it's a different picture altogether, and it has everybody's name listed here, but no identification as to who is who. It's just got all the pictures and all the names. And then there was another picture that appeared in the South Alabama in July of '76. It was a reprint, of course, and it shows, looks like about 12 veterans holding the giant Confederate flag, probably made in Jacksonville, but I'm not sure. And it's got my great-grandfather in there and several other names that would be recognizable to many of you, I'm sure. So I feel very fortunate to have these items, but that's the treasure.
Yeah.
It could have gotten away too. It's one of those things that could have gone anywhere.
Sometime walking down our way, if I'm digging around, I discovered, actually I saw a reference to the book. Most of you know what I mean when I say the OR, the official record. There is a medical and surgical OR. There are only 5 volumes, and I've only seen 2 volumes. I went to the library long, and finally, after a couple of months, got a couple of volumes and found, looking for a photograph of a hospital vessel that did show up in there. But in this thing, also were autopsies of Confederate soldiers done at Rock Island. And I Xeroxed all before I returned the book, all the Alabama soldiers. And apparently they were doing extensive studies to see why so many men were dying with diarrhea. They had no idea what was killing them. And they were doing experimentation on them. They were feeding them things like peanuts to see if that would cure them. And it didn't. But they had some fairly extensive autopsies. Quite a number of soldiers. A few northern soldiers, but primarily Confederate prisoners.
One other thing I didn't show you a while ago. I did bring his Southern Cross. I was always pretty sure that he must have had one of these, but I didn't confirm it till I got this. So I wrote to the UDC headquarters, I think it's in Virginia or someplace, to find out, if they could tell me anything about when he might have gotten it. I sent his name and his unit and everything else. And they sent me back the official paper where they had awarded him the cross. And they awarded it to him through a UDC chapter in Demopolis, which I guess was the closest one at that time. And I think the year was 1911 that they actually got around up to issuing him the cross. But they did send me a certified copy, that he had been awarded out of the Demopolis chapter UDC. These things are hard to come by.
They're very valuable.
very-
Of course, that's not awarded anymore. When the
No.
last Confederate soldier died, and we do award crosses of military service, beginning with World War I on down, but those are that two men who could prove that they have Confederate ancestors.
I had purchased one of these off, I don't remember exactly, it wasn't on the internet back then, but I purchased it from someplace about 30 years ago, and at that time I paid $100. I don't know what they're worth nowadays, but if you can identify back to a person, they're even more valuable.
Yes.
Walter, is that engraved with his name on it?
Doesn't have his name engraved on it. And also, this one has a button type backing on it where it goes into a buttonhole. The other one I have at home has a pin back like our name badges. So they had different styles. That's all I've got, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Walter. That's a great share.
Wow.
Who else? We were talking about the Beatles' little story.
Sure.
Excuse me, Terry, you want to do that tonight, or you want to?
I'm going, let's do it now.
We talked about how close our guys were and how they traveled